Chapter 3, AC current, alternating current. Many students consider the third chapter difficult, but in fact, if they understand the basic principle of it, it will be much easier. فعلا حسب خبرتنا العديد من الطلبة يعتبرون هذا الفصل معضلة، ولكن مثل ما تعرفون الدي سي current اللي هو direct current flows in electric circuit in one direction and it's generated by batteries, while AC current, as for the electric energy which is used in homes, factories, schools, etc., this energy is generated in electric energy station by AC generator. First of all, we should say that this chapter is focusing on three elements. The first one is R, resistor, the second L, inductor, the third C, capacitor. R, L, C. Number one, pure resistor. ونقصد بالبيور resistor أي أنها مقاومة خالية من الحث، خالية من inductance or induction. R, if connected to AC source, now we can draw the phasor of this circuit. We can plot the phasor of this circuit. This is y-axis and this is x-axis. If the current I is here, I sub R, which means the current which flows through the resistor is congruent with x-axis. IR is congruent with x-axis. The voltage V also congruent with the x-axis. Therefore, we said here that the angle between I and V equals 0. Phi equal 0. It's called phase angle. The movement counterclockwise. Okay. The 0 indicates to the movement, and omega is the angular frequency. Angular frequency. Omega equal 2 pi f. This is an important relation. Omega, the angular momentum, equal 2 times pi times frequency. Frequency measured in hertz, while omega measured in radian per second. Now we should write down the relation of I sub R and the relation of V sub R. V sub R equal V max times sine omega 2 omega t. V sub R, the voltage between the two terminals of the resistor, while V max represents the maximum value of the voltage, and omega is the angular frequency and t the period of time, while I sub R equal I max sine omega t. I sub R, the current which flows through the resistor. I maximum, the maximum value of a current through the resistor. Omega is the angular frequency until the period of time. Now we can say that V and I in phase, which means the angle of phase equal to 0, phi equal to 0. وعندما نضع اندكتر ملف بالدائرة ماذا يحصل؟ Pure inductor. If pure inductor connected to an AC source, now we can draw the phasor like this. This is y-axis, this is x-axis. If the current is here, I sub L, the current through the inductor. V sub L will be here. Now the movement counterclockwise, and the angle between V and L equals 90. Here we say VL preceding by an angle of 90, or I sub L lagging by an angle of 90 degrees. Now to write down I sub L relation equal I max times sine omega t. V sub L equal V max sine omega t plus pi over 2. This plus pi over 2 means V is preceding. Here pi over 2 is absent, therefore we say I sub L is lagging by a theta or phase angle equal 0. Pi over 2. Phase angle pi over 2. And we can also draw I as a sinusoidal wave. This is I. Begin from the origin. V start from here. And we draw V sub L as greater than I sub L. Okay, this means pi over 2. أي أن عند ربط الاندكتر محث pure inductor with AC source راح يكون الفولتج هو المتقدم على الكرنت. فرق الجهد يتقدم على التيار بزاوية باي اوفر 2. وأيضا ممكن رسم السينوسويدال أو الموجة الجيبية لكل من التيار والفولتية. أما لو ربطنا متسعة صرف pure capacitor with AC source ممكن أيضا رسم الفيزر x axis y axis. هنا ال V sub C is lagging، تتأخر عن الكرنت ب angle pi over 2. I sub C the current and V sub C the voltage between the two terminals of the capacitor. Also we can draw the waves of IC and VC. V sub C lagging by an angle of pi over 2, while I sub C preceding by an angle pi over 2. V sub C as a relationship equal V max sine omega t, while I sub C equal I max sine omega t plus pi over 2. Plus pi over 2 indicates to preceding. Here the incident of V sub C on y-axis represent V sub M, which means V maximum. Also here I maximum. While V sub C, instantaneous velocity. Here instantaneous current. The phase angle phi equal pi over 2. We can also draw this figure as this is the current and this is V sub C. The same thing, phi equal pi over 2. الآن باختصار من البداية، if we use a pure resistor، إذا استخدمنا مقاومة صرف مع AC source، راح يكون التيار current on the voltage V and the same axis. On the same axis we say congruent with other. I is congruent with X axis and V is congruent with X axis also. And the angle phase equal 0. هاي بالنسبة لمن؟ للمقاومة الصرف pure resistor. نجي إلى pure inductor، المحث الصرف. إذا ربطنا المحث الصرف مع AC power سوف يتقدم فرق الجهد على التيار بزاوية مقدارها باي على 2. وإذا ربطنا المتسعة C مع AC source راح يكون الكرنت هو المتقدم على الدلتا V الفولتج بزاوية أيضا 90 درجة.